Hey everyone, this is Michael Atma and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I wanted to talk to you about how you can not only read a book a week, but how you can also learn while you're doing that. So let's get started. You know, the first question to ask yourself when you're looking to increase the amount of books that you're reading is why? Why is it that you want to read more? Do you want to learn more information? Do you just love to read and it's a fun thing for you to do? Is it something that you've always had in mind but never seemed to get around to doing it? Is it a way that you can see that you can nourish your mind with useful information and, in a sense, upgrade your thought patterns? You know, all those reasons and so many more can be true for us. So the first thing to decide is, why is it that you want to read books? And what do you want to do from reading those books? For some of you, it may be that you don't want to do anything. You just want to read books purely for the joy that they bring you. You know, when I first started reading, I remember I was at primary school and I read Lord of the Rings. That was one of my very first books that I read. And I absolutely loved it. I even got in trouble because it wasn't on our school curriculum and I refused to read the English books that the teachers were giving us to read. I think it was Lady Chatterley's Lover was the book we were supposed to be reading, but I sneakily read Lord of the Rings on the side and I got in trouble for doing that, but I loved that book. And that got me onto reading a lot of books around fiction and science fantasy and even science fiction. So when you understand what your reason is for reading a book, it can make it easier to get into the habit of reading a little more. So I never used to have the habit of reading a book a week. It's actually taken me a while to get into the swing of that. But you know, there's a few simple tips that I can give you that will help you to get the most out of the time that you do read your books, whether it's a book a week or a book every 2 weeks or even a book a month. You get to decide how quickly or how slowly you want to read your books. Now, I'm going to be talking to those of you that want to really learn from the books that you read. You know, I've probably spent over $100,000 on books, both in paperback and in digital format. And the reason I do that, and I'll continue to do that, I buy around about 10 books a month at the moment. And the reason I do that is because A, I love to read, and B, I love to learn. And I find it's a really good way for me to get intentional about helping to support where I'm headed in both my business and my life. So that brings me around to the second tip around how you can get the most out of reading the books that you read and how you can start to read a book a week. The second tip is this: be intentional about what it is you want to read. Make it purposeful for you. If you're into personal development and growth like I am, if you're just into reading books for fun, then you can still use this process and it'll work for you. But what I find is that if you're into learning from books and they're a way for you to educate yourself and upgrade your thought patterns and belief systems, then this is for you. So when I say be intentional, what I mean is pick a book that's going to align to whatever it is you're working on currently in your life. So if you're working on your mindset, as an example, then you want to look at books around mindset. And when I look at books that I'm working on a specific area in my life in, I look first of all to find out about the author and where they're at in their life and what they've achieved in their life and what makes them an expert in this topic. So I do a little bit of research. I might watch some videos on YouTube or perhaps a TED Talk, or perhaps look around in the news just to see where it is they're mentioned that they have actually done what they're talking about. So once I'm certain that they're a success at what they're talking about and they're an expert in that area, then I'm more inclined to buy their book. So step 3 is, once you've chosen the topic or the theme for the week that you want to read your book in, then go ahead and buy the book and set yourself a time frame of 7 days to read it. Now, here's how that works. I'll give you an example. I've got a little tiny book here called The Alchemist, one of my favorite books. It's a very short book and it's a very easy read. What I do is I just go in and I have a look inside and see where the book ends. I go to the very last page and this book has 165 pages. Then what I do is I just divide that by 7. And that gives me the total number of pages that I need to read each day. That equals approximately 25 pages a day. So now that I know how many pages I need to read per day to finish or complete that book in a week, then I just schedule that in. In other words, that leads me to step 4. You make it a routine in your everyday life. And when you've done this routine for around 60 days, then it becomes an unconscious habit. In other words, you can just get up and go about your day and it naturally slots into your day easily and effortlessly. So tip 5 is that now that you're reading, say 20, 30, or even 40 pages of a book a day, you can also add in one more thing that's going to help you to not only retain more information, but then to be able to go out and apply what you're learning. What I've found that works really well is I have a highlighter next to my book. And so as I'm reading through my book and I get to a place where what I'm reading really lands for me and I can see that it's something that will make a difference either in my business or in my life, I go ahead and I just highlight it. And then that makes it really easy for me at some point during the day to go back, flick through the book, pick out that part that really gelled for me, and then implement it into my business or my life. And I do that every single day. And that way I'm taking baby steps forward on new information that I'm learning, digesting, and now implementing into my business or my life. Now, the last tip that I want to give you, which is a bonus tip, is that you've got to enjoy what you're reading. And typically you'll know by the end of the first 10 pages if the book you're reading is of interest to you and if you're enjoying it or not. Don't underestimate the power of enjoying what you're reading when it comes to learning more and remembering more from it as well. And I tend to mix things up. So while I read a lot of personal development books, every now and then I'll throw in a fiction or a science fiction or a fantasy book just to switch it up so that I can read just for the sake of reading rather than for the sake of learning, which is my normal go-to way to read a book.